You want this pan hot. You want to get nice browning on the chicken. I'm just going to do a little light reading while we wait. Hi guys, today's recipe is for a sweet and sour chicken, and our pantry ingredient that we're featuring on our pantry series today is jam, and the jam I'm using is apricot jam because it adds such delicious tangy flavor, sweetness, tanginess. It does a lot for this dish, and yeah, you might normally think jam is used on toast or in a cookie or in a cake, but I think this really unique way is going to be incorporated into your repertoire as soon as you see it because it's super fast, super delicious, and kind of unique. I have my cast iron skillet heating. I'm gonna get everything prepped because it is a stir fry. My main allium or onion component is a scallion that I've cut into 2-inch pieces, and then a really nice amount of ginger. The recipe calls for a 2-inch piece. This is probably about 4 inches, but I'm just gonna go ahead and peel it. So normally we grate ginger or we mince it, but in this instance, I'm making these very thin matchsticks, which you'll see, and they can be eaten whole, or I like eating them whole. If you're not a fan of that, I recommend maybe cut back a little bit and do grated ginger or chopped ginger. Just use the sharp edge of the spoon to remove the peel and then cut it into matchsticks. So just thinly slice it one way across the fibers of the ginger so that it won't be tough. It should be very thin because you actually don't want to eat like a big, huge hunk of ginger. And then cut those pieces into thin strips. Or julienne, if you're using the French term. If you were going to do a mince, do a little bit less. I have 5 cloves of very thinly sliced garlic, and then for spice and my particular enjoyment, a serrano chili. The recipe calls for a half. You can remove the seeds if you don't want it spicy. If you're me, leave them in, and you can even use more than a half if you want to, but make sure that you taste a seed to see how spicy it is, because chilies like this vary so widely, and sometimes you can be really surprised. This one was quite spicy, so I am only going to use half. Sometimes I go crazy or I don't taste it, and then there's some major regrets happening. This is my chicken. It's 1.5 pounds of chicken thigh that's cut into bite-sized pieces, about 1.5 inches, and then some pineapple, another sweet and tangy flavor component here. Always looking for balance of flavors in every dish that I make, but in this dish the balance is sweetness, tanginess, spiciness. I'm also going to balance the flavor, the tanginess flavor, with this white vinegar. 1/4 of a pineapple, or about 1 1/4 cups of diced pineapple. I'm told the pan is smoking, which means it's very hot. Perhaps I'll turn it down. When your pan gets too hot, you can remove it from the stove. That's probably the quickest way to cool it down. The good thing about cast iron skillets is that they really hold their heat, but that can also be a challenging thing if you're not wanting your pan to be smoking hot, because it takes a bit of time to cool down. But since I'm ready, I'm gonna live life on the edge and just start cooking. I'm using a neutral flavored oil here, 2 tablespoons of oil. I don't know if that's going to be the amount that I want to finish with. If the pan feels like it's getting dry at any point, I can add more. The recipe calls for 3 tablespoons total. I'm going to just sprinkle the chicken with a tiny bit of salt before I add it to the pan, and then add it to the pan, and then add a little bit more salt. Wow, that's hot. So I'm washing my hands like a good person that doesn't want to contaminate people. No, I accomplished 2 things there. I washed my hands, and I also got away from the splattering fat on this skillet. I seasoned the chicken in the bowl, but that wasn't a really good seasoning, so I'm going to sprinkle with salt right now. Generally speaking, when I'm cooking, I have to keep in mind, like, what are the other things that are going into my dish later that might affect the seasoning. This recipe doesn't have any broth in it, which often has salt. It doesn't have soy or fish sauce or anything like that. This is actually the only salty thing that's going in. It's the actual salt. What I'm learning right this moment in real time is that I should have patted my chicken dry before I added it to the pan, because moisture, when it comes into contact with fat, causes splattering, and I probably could have been a little bit more attentive to how much moisture was on my chicken. It's calming down a little bit now, but that was kind of crazy. But you want this pan hot. You want to get nice browning on the chicken. Those are your goals here. The hotter your stove is, the better. And if your stove is not super duper hot, you can cook this in batches so that you get nice browning. Also, maybe don't move it around as much as I'm moving it around. The less you move it, the better browning you get. I'm just gonna do a little light reading while we wait. So it's getting a little bit brown, starting to get cooked. So I'm gonna add my ginger, garlic. That was 5 cloves of sliced garlic and chili. This needs to cook until everything is fragrant. The chicken is basically cooked through. If your pan is hot enough, it should take about 3 minutes. So now the chicken is getting nice and golden. The garlic is not burnt, but is fragrant, and some of the ginger is also getting a little bit of browning, which is really nice. So now add your scallions, half a cup of jam. This is apricot jam. Orange marmalade would also be really delicious here. They add really nice flavor. And then the pineapple. So what should happen here is that the jam will melt down and coat your chicken and create kind of like a sticky, sweet sauce. And choose brands that you like, that have flavors that you like. I prefer ones that are not too heavy on sugar, so that the flavor of the fruit really comes out. Last thing that I'm going to do is a tiny bit more salt and season with white vinegar. The recipe calls for 2 to 3 tablespoons, but you should really taste at this point, because like I said earlier, you want a balance of sweet, tangy, and spicy. I'm pretty excited by what I see in this pan, because it's exactly what I'm looking for. The juices are all bubbling up. We're making a sauce that's coating the chicken. There's no thickener in here. I feel like this is going to be really hot. I don't want to burn my tongue. I still didn't wait long enough. That's good. It's a little sweet, so I'm going to add a little bit more vinegar and a little bit more salt. And quite honestly, I feel like I could use a little more chili, so I'm going to add a little more chili. But that's just me. Maybe I'll regret this. But I don't think so. And then you can serve it with rice or on more vegetables. Not really a vegetable in here, you know. Over cauliflower rice, that would be great, because then you're getting more vegetables. And I happen to have some cooked rice here. Good, right? I think so. You can't beat a stir fry for quick. If you do want to add a vegetable, maybe saute it first, take it out, add your chicken, do all the other stuff they do, and then add it back in at the end so it doesn't overcook, the pan isn't too crowded. I think it would be welcome. A welcome addition. And then enjoy. Let's see. This dish is delicious. It's fast. It's easy. It uses an ingredient that you already have on hand, probably in a unique and different way, and I think you're really gonna like it. I think you should give it a try. Let me know in the comments below, what do you do with jam that's a little bit unusual? And if you like recipes like this, click like and subscribe.